Read now.
Read now.
Read now.
Because it's time to read now. We are live. Welcome to the Read Now Book Club, where we are so excited to be able to read Mythic, our April book of the month, our April book pick. And let me tell you, we have been on quite a journey with Migs, I was like, oh my goodness, I'm going to butcher the characters' names, and I just read it. With all of our fun characters in the world of the Spark, in the shadow of the Spark. Ooh, I want shadow powers now. I'm so excited. The antagonist is so much fun, and we're going to be getting into all that and more. So make sure to stick around. We're going to be having our live discussion about Mythic Shadow of the Spark. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you love it? Were there things that you liked or things that you disliked? Drop a comment and join the conversation. We're first going to start off the first 10 minutes with a non-spoiler discussion, and then we'll open it up to the wider discussion and talking about all the things we liked. So make sure to stick around. We will also be voting on our May book of the month for Romance Month. So that and more. But first off, welcome to the community. I'm Kaufman, on a mission to help writers, with the process and lifestyle. And so happy to be here. So thank you all for joining, and very, very excited. Now, something that we're doing differently this time around is we've opened up our book discussion. We're thinking about opening up our monthly live discussion to more writers and more of our Read Now Book Club members. So if you want to join us in a future live discussion, let us know. And without further ado, let me introduce my wonderful co-host over here.
Hi, everybody.
Courtney. And who are you? For anyone new just popping into the stream.
I am an avid reader and I write contemporary romance, so super excited for May. But yeah, I enjoyed like reading everyone's books and seeing what everybody submits and growing my talent as a writer.
Excellent. And Courtney is our official book club director in the ReadNow community. So I'm so excited to have Courtney here. And we are joined by the wonderful, amazing Mama Maggie. Mama Maggie, if you want to just introduce yourself for the community.
Hello, lovelies. I am Mama Maggie Ward, independent author, stroke survivor, migraine overcomer, and I love sci-fi. I love world building. And yeah, I have like 30 books out. Yeah, you can go to my Amazon page and see them. I have several sci-fi series, including my giant sci fantasy series, The Relic Time War, which book number 12 is coming out on June the 1st. That means there's two. After this one, there'll be two more books left in the series, and then we will have 1.4 million words right there. So yeah, I am all here for it. I loved Shadow of the Spark. I remember when Adrian was working on it and talking about publishing it a couple of years ago. So this was actually my third time reading the book through, just to make sure I got everything polished up in the old forget-me-not. So
awesome. Mom Maggie, so happy to have you joining us today. And I know we have a couple of our community members. ML, it's so great to have you here, my friend. Welcome, welcome. I feel like we're going to be in for a really great discussion today. So I literally just got through the book, and I feel like I've gone through quite an experience with Mythic Shadow of the Spark. So what did you think about it? We would love to hear. We're going to start off with our non-spoiler discussion, and we'll kind of start with some like big picture items of things that we liked, that we thought were really, really interesting. But first, two quick things. So for anybody who's just hopping into the chat, if you haven't picked up a book copy of Mythic Shadow of the Spark, it's still available for free over on Amazon, linked down in the YouTube description down below. Make sure to go pick up a copy. It's a great book, and you'll be able to kind of hear in and listen in on the conversation today. And not only that, we are doing something different for our book club this time. We are officially opening up the vote for our April book of the month. which is romance. And I was like,
May book of the month.
oh, did I
which
say
is
April? I was like,
romance.
I said April, didn't I?
Yeah.
I was like, I definitely had this ready at one point in time. All right. So for those of you guys, real quick before we hop into the discussion, our May book of the month is romance. We are super, super excited. And we have officially narrowed down the selections. And let me tell you guys, we got a lot of nominations. We got a lot of nominations for Romance Month. Clearly, we have a lot of romance love in the community. So we are proud to officially announce that our top 5 romance selections for our May book face-off is The Perfect Hero by Emma Bennett. I was like, I'll see if oh, no, maybe it will let me zoom in. Yep, there we go. A Summer with Persephone by our very own JLD. The Starstruck by Alexandra
Lee.
Lee.
Alexander
Perfect.
Lee.
Shot in the Dark by Mary Dublin and Anne Kensley. And Steamers and Coffee House.
Steamer's Tea and Coffee House by yours
There we go.
truly.
I knew there was it. I knew it was it. We could only fit so much on the image. Steamers,
Yeah.
Tea, and Coffee House by our very own Mama Maggie. So, and by the way, that one spoke to the barista in me. I'm like, yes, that was
yeah.
totally a win. So
yeah.
those are going to be our 5 selections, 5 options for May, because it's time for you to vote now. Go cast your votes. Courtney's going to drop the link in the chat, and we will pick the winner at the end of the stream. So, guys, everyone, go cast your votes, and we will see what you guys vote on for May. All right, perfect, and we'll vote throughout the stream. So go cast your votes on what book you want to read in May. All right, and then on that note, let's get into Mythic Shadow the Spark. So for anybody who's just joining us and hasn't had the chance to read the book yet, let me pull up the blurb. Let's see, Mythic Shadow of the Spark. All right, perfect. Here we go. So Shadow of the Spark. For centuries, the last of humanity traveled the galaxy aboard a fleet of Spark ships searching for a new home. They warred amongst themselves, formed alliances that eventually split into factions. The peace seekers that broke away found a ringed and moonless planet they renamed Gaia, in homage to ancient Earth, orbiting a star they renamed Sol. They gifted Gaia a moon in the form of a giant space station called the Spark, built by combining their 14 arcs, ending their nomadic ways, and committing to their new home. Book 1, Shadow of the Spark, is about newly appointed Detective Migdalia Vandersays, or, as everyone knows, Migs. Yep, I was like, Migs. First murder case was supposed to be open and shut. Wishful thinking. Armed with the latest technology, she unravels the mysteries of the victims, the killer, and the Spark itself. The complex web of crime and corruption entangles her professionally and romantically, with a bounty hunter seeking redemption, Lear Varian, and a witch exploring the depths of her power, Faye Noelani. At the center of all the sex, drugs, secrets, magic, and violence waits a prolific killer who hunts the streets with impunity. This murderer works to cover his tracks and stay ahead of Detective Vandersay and her partners as they race against the clock to stop him from taking his next victim and tying off his final loose end. Will the help of Lear and Faye be enough, or will Migdalia's career end before she even closes her first case? So, opening up, we'll do a 10-minute non-spoiler discussion. What do you guys think? If we're going to just pull out here like some big picture items, how did you guys feel about the book? And
I liked. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I liked the book. I got lost in bits. I'm not gonna lie, but that could just be like my not reading sci-fi, and I understand that and respect that. As my intro to sci-fi, I thought it's a great book as an intro to sci-fi. I liked the twists and turns. I liked the romantic aspects of it as a romance reader. Loved that.
I was like, yeah, there were a couple of great open door, like brief, like sexy romance scenes in there too, actually.
Yeah, and I would almost say that they weren't like
But it didn't feel like they were in depth.
Open door, yes, but I would say that it is like right on that open door. It's not like in the room of the open door. It's like right at the, door
It feels
frame.
like it's like, I don't know if this is a thing for romance, but like cracked door. I don't know if that's a thing.
No, but it kind of is a thing. I would say it's that.
Yeah. Granted, I'm not a romance reader, but like reading it, I didn't feel like this was like a romance book, but I felt like there was it was a romance subplot with the characters.
It definitely has a romance subplot. I'm a huge sci-fi fan, and one of the things one of the things you have with sci-fi, like keys to good sci-fi, are you have to have the advanced tech, which we have. You have to have that relatability to real life.
Yeah.
Which we have, not only in the characters, but in the division of society and the different levels and stuff like that. We have that. We have the characters who treat the advanced tech like it's just some mundane thing. I mean, they really do. This is their tech. This is what they live with it. And they're like, yeah, just slap this tech on and do this thing and slap a thing on your neck and make you go to sleep. And, and they treat all of their tech like it's just a mundane thing. But, the believability, that suspension of belief that occurs with some fantasy books and with some sci-fi books, that was really in this. And if you're a Browncoat Nation fan, a Firefly fan, this really was like Firefly meets Blade Runner.
That's actually that's really interesting. I definitely got the vibes of I definitely got Firefly vibes there with these kind of it's almost like we get like this I don't know if detective noir. I don't know if noir is the right term, but it's like there's that detective crime-esque element to it, underlaid over this like all this like cool science fiction stuff, and all of these different. There's a lot of character development, a lot of world building, and a lot of really interesting and fun things going on.
What's that movie with Justin Timberlake where I think it's Time.
In Time,
where it's like like you're and it's like currency. I got that vibes from the Risk-Com.
Yeah, the Risk-Com. So
I love the Risk-Com, but I wanted those glasses so badly.
The glasses, the scanner glasses.
The ones that I was like, I guess without giving spoilers, the ones that are very predominant and more heavily used in the first half of the book. But those were the coolest tech ever. I mean, like it felt like that. It was kind of like a magic ability in a sense. And it felt like it was kind of on par with phase magic, which was really interesting. And I thought that contrast was actually really, really cool. You
know what, part of Clark's third law is that technology sufficiently advanced appears as magic.
Right. And yep, that's a really, really good call out. Right. And I think that's one of the biggest contrasts with science fiction versus fantasy, right? Where science fiction, it's technology that's so advanced that it's basically explained in a way where it doesn't feel as magical, but it still feels super cool. Whereas magic is more unexplained through a different system and less sciencey. So I completely agree with that. I think that's really, really cool. I'm a huge sci-fi lover. Huge sci-fi fan. I wouldn't say I've read as much sci-fi. I think a lot of my sci-fi consumption is film and television. But one of my earliest influences was Ender's Game. So like Ender's Game was very early influence for me. And I think one of the things that I loved so much about this book was there's so much cool world building elements. I think all of these different pieces of tech were so fascinating. And I think it's contrasted against this underlying type of magic-esque system. I would argue, because I know Adrian's mentioned that sci-fi fantasy, and I think this first book feels very like sci-fi-esque with maybe a minor fantasy subplot because of Faye. Faye's ability is magic. Now, of course, we could argue, right? Like, okay, energy, aura, that is its own thing. But I think by the time, I think it is explored to a certain degree of the magic system. And my guess is it will probably that magic system will probably be explored more in depth as the series continues.
Yeah. There's also the prequel about Bella. which
Yes,
is
which I have not read yet.
Is the murder victim? She's one of the 2 murder victims that you meet.
Oh,
at
that
the
is so
beginning of the
cool.
book.
That is so cool. The prequel is about the. Oh, okay, that's actually really cool.
So yeah, no, but it's the reason that I compare it to Firefly is because you have these extremely technologically advanced upper class wealthy groups. You have these middle class working groups. They have the tech. They don't have the tech. They talk about the island people, which tend to be these like Puerto Rican Hispanic culture people that were on one of the groups, and it becomes very relatable because they talk about how the drug lords had taken over their community. They fought back, they fought this war, and after they kicked them out, then they ended up with kind of gang wars going on. And that's Lear's home. That's the place he leaves. That's the place he gets out of. And it becomes very relatable of these people. There's also this agrarian group that are like Mennonites. They still use horses and buggies. They believe the earth is
What an interesting
sacred.
contrast. What
And they do use some technology. They do use some technology, and some of the things that get revealed about them later, you're like, oh, holy cow. But it's so you have all these different, you have this very agrarian religious culture layered up to these super blah 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 technical people. Like there's a character who she's basically a what is it, a OnlyFans girl. They call her a cam girl, and she basically,
I think that's Serena. I think it's Serena. Right?
Serena spends her life 24/7, and people send her money and gifts. She's so well known that she has her own virtual theater arena where people will come and sit as their avatars to watch her live broadcast and give her gifts. And she's like, makes herself a millionaire by the time she's 18, and she's like one of the top 20 single individual power users for their version of the internet. And it's so you have this huge diversity, and that is part of what makes this world really really appealing, is because you're going in there and you have all these technological stuff, and then you have these people that their entire life is leaned into the technology. And you have these people who their entire life is pushed away from the technology. And then you have people like Faye who are in the middle, who, the technology is there, that they use it, but they also have this mysticism and this naturalness, natural healing stuff thing about them that really completely creates this huge societal spectrum.
I completely agree with that. And I think one of the things Adrian actually does really well is he contrasts a lot of themes and a lot of world building elements in a way that's really, really interesting that I haven't seen before. I wouldn't expect to have these like what were we called them? I was like an Amish mafia, but you're like what?
The Mennonite mafia, yeah.
The Mennonite. It was like
Mennonite mafia.
Mennonite mafia of like, we got the Mennonite mafia with their like horses and like
I feel like we're getting into spoiler territory. So
the horse and buggy group versus
the
the government political overwatch corruption group. And it's very much a world where no one is pure of heart, where no one is unblemished, which is where you lean into that Blade Runner-esque cyberpunk kind of a world where everyone has been shadowed in their own way.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I'm curious, what would you guys say was your favorite? So I know I know world building's actually really, really interesting and done very well. If we think about our characters, there's quite a cast of characters. Now, we know that this book follows predominantly Detective Miggs, Faye, the witch, and our bounty hunter, Lear. And then we have quite an array of supporting and really interesting characters. Who would you guys say is your favorite? Which one like resonated with you the most?
I'm gonna say Harley.
Lear, you're the bounty hunter. I love that. I actually like that Lear was contrasted against his sister, Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
She totally came across to me as Harley Quinn.
Yeah, I like Lear. Archie. As one of these tertiary characters, I really like Archie's character because he's that guy that's there supporting Miggs through everything. He risked his career and everything. Him and
Archie did actually have some really interesting moments.
he
when
really
I think about all the characters, I think Archie was actually one of the supporting characters that I wanted a little bit more. I think I almost wanted like a little bit more of like some moments of him in the field in the first half of the book, because I know he's kind of there, but I feel like I didn't get like, I don't know. I kind of went back and forth on his character personally, because I know he shows up with her in the very first mission, and then he's not really back in the field until we'll just say later in the book. So I kind of went back and forth on him personally. When I thought about characters, his character, I was like, Miggs is super cool, and he has a cool moment when things don't look so good for Miggs later on. He does have a really badass moment, by the way. But for me, he didn't resonate as much.
I feel like that's because he's supposed to be like in her comms all the time. Like, so he's supposed, like, he's there for almost everything, but he's, I don't know what the term is, but like, he's there without being there. Like, we're here in a group, but we're in different locations. You know what I mean? So it's like, we're here together, but we're not, but he's that way, you know?
Yeah, Emma's right. Archie was in the office speaking to her through tech. It was like the
entire time. I think
helping her.
From where I got in the book, the only time he's not with her is when she has to leave all her tech in the car to go talk to the, the old way cult. So, like
the Erkmans.
Yeah, there you go. But like, you know what I mean? Like that's like the only time he's not actually like just a button away.
Which is really interesting. I mean, what were you going to say?
I see him as being like Alfred. If you think about Batman, he's like a combination between like a young Alfred or maybe like the techie girl from NCIS, Abby.
I got that vibe as well.
He's the one that's kind of back in the scene, just kind of watch, he's kind of Overwatch. He's with her out in the field on a couple times, but he's never been out in the field because he's not. He wasn't like her. He wasn't a police officer. He's like a college graduate joining law enforcement for the techie stuff, and she's like a street officer, has been promoted to a detective. And it's really interesting, like when you get to that first murder scene and you see why she got moved up to detective, because some of the older officers are like, oh yeah, you got moved up, oh yeah, and she's like, yeah, well, if you get your scores up, you could get moved up too.
And I think
it's sassy.
I think it's so sassy. Our three main characters had such big personalities. So, like, I don't think there was actually anything wrong with Archie's character at all. I think his character does work. But I think when you have such three big personalities, everybody else is contrasted against huge personalities. And then, like, you got our antagonist of, like, the creepiest. Like, what a creepy antagonist type. So before we get into this, I think now's probably going to be a great time to open up the discussion to spoilers. So I think this is going to be a great time to pivot the discussion. I can tell we're kind of like hitting that borderline. But first, let me just throw up the poll, because I was curious who everyone liked, who everyone's favorite character was. And it looks like it was an even mix between our witch, so Faye the Witch, and Lear the Bounty Hunter. So it looks like those are our favorites in this discussion. Faye and Lear. Maybe it was because the Faye Lear romance. Maybe that was it.
Well, the thing is they were such realistic characters. Faye is going through this trauma of having her father, her mother throws her father, her grandmother throws her father in prison. When she's a little girl, so she basically grows up without him. Lear has this thing of, the only one he has left is his sister, and then his mother who has been basically downloaded into an android.
Mm-hmm.
And he fought in the war to like free the island people from the drug dealers and
Mm-hmm.
killed people, and then he ended up basically the student of a yakuza.
Mm-hmm.
So he has this kind of like samurai warrior honor mentality, and it weighs very heavily on him
Mm-hmm.
that he has killed. He feels like I've lost. And he says, you lose a part of your soul when you kill someone, and I've killed people. And the way he handles things, the way he really focuses that samurai mentality, I love that.
Mm-hmm. And this actually makes me think of a good question, and I don't know, this could be wrong, but I'm almost curious, and I'd love to hear everyone's thoughts in the community, if Lear and Faye's character development path was stronger in comparison to Mig's. And I don't know if this is right, because when I started the book, I actually really liked Mig's the most. But then as I kind of went through it, I'm like, I felt more attached and connected to Faye and Lear. And then with Faye and her magic, and I guess let me put this out here. We're pivoting into spoiler discussion, so that way we can talk about spoiler. If you're just hopping into the stream, we are talking about Mythic Shadow of the Spark. So if you have not read to the end and you don't want to know the ending, hop to the end of the stream. So this is going to be a spoiler.
Come back and see where one in May.
Exactly. So it's going to be the spoiler part of the discussion. So spoilers. And as a side note, anybody who wants to vote for our May book, which is our romance books, we've linked it down in the chat below. Go vote for Romance Month. We have 5 books. Okay.
Yeah, and if you want to know about The Victim, the book about Bella is available too. So you can, one of the 2 first victims. I really I felt an attachment to Miggs throughout, because there's a scene early on, like right at the beginning of the book, where Miggs wakes up hungover AF because and there's this day called CC Day, and later in the book you find out what CC Day stands for her, and why she takes her 360.
I almost feel like we lost that though. Like,
when you get to that part, your soul will crumble for Miggs. When you find out what happened and the aftermath with her parents of what happened, you really, it's like, because her parents were religious zealots, and she was, bad things happened with the son of the preacher when she was like 6 years old, and she was blamed. And she's 364 days of sobriety, back to 0. And it's every year. And she has this very intense talk with Faye and Lear about what happened to her.
And I remember that moment. I remember that chapter. And I think my problem as a reader is that Faye's alcoholism, the sobriety, that part of her path, it's mentioned very heavily in the first chapter. Right, because her character, but then it feels like it kind of gets forgotten about until we get about 70%, 67%. That when they're like having their discussion about the past and opening up, and I'm like, oh yeah, that was a thing. And I think for me, I forgot about it because there had been so much stuff with Faye and Lear.
It comes up because Miggs talks about she doesn't like to be touched. And it comes up several times. And when that discussion comes around, then it's like, you get the feeling. Now, I write a lot of overcomer fiction with my contemporary fiction. So I write SA victims.
Okay.
And that is the do not touch me thing is a trait of that. The self-medicating to take the edge off of the anxiety and to make the mind focus. That is a self-protection mechanism. So, I identified with that part of Miggs right away that, and that relapse on anniversary dates of trauma. But the reason I connected so much with Lear was that need to protect his younger sibling. He needed to protect Harley.
And that really resonated with me. I think when I think about the beats that resonated with me, so as a reader, right? Of course, we're all coming at this from different backgrounds. And by the way, I would love to hear if you are in the live stream right now, or you're watching this on the replay, what moment resonated with you the most? What was something that really stood out, whether it was a character, a moment, like what did you emotionally feel? Drop a comment. We would love to hear from you. So I think what really resonated with me was Lear's journey with his sister and Harley, because there was that bond and the dynamic. And then I think with Faye, for me, the magic. I'm like, I loved that so much. I'm also a fantasy nerd, so I'm like, okay, that totally checks for me. So I think those two were the things that resonated with me the most deeply by the time I was at the midpoint of the book, which was really, really interesting.
Lear really wanted to turn his life around, but he just found out
I think we felt that.
The shift that he went to is he was going from the Guild, which was one corrupt organization, into the Secret Service to protect the senators and stuff like that. And that was just as corrupt an organization with their little Epstein 2-week party going on. And that's like, your first day on the job and you walk into basically the Epstein Island issues in a hotel. And your job is to just stand here, face the wall, and keep them safe.
Although I do have to say, I think one of the most, like, not a sad moment, but I think a moment where I just felt so bad for Migs was when they had finally figured out all the stuff. This was this was her like a downfall moment, I think 60-70% in. She figures out all the stuff. She's in the office with her boss, what's his face. She gives all the information. The boss's boss, like, he just like, no, you can he's corrupt.
Oh yeah.
And that's just such a sad. She literally has the information. They have the videos. They have the stuff. And is like, nope, this is how it's going to be. And then, of course, they're saved by Archie. And that is actually the moment where I feel like Archie really shined.
And the thing is she's like her mentor, the person that she has literally followed up the whole way. He's like, we just got to do what they say. And she's just like, what do you mean? The Mennonite Mafia, the drug dealers, they're the drug dealers now, and the government corruption is covering up for them, and they're all lunatics, and they kidnapped me, and one of them's a serial killer, and he's killed several cops, and he was going to kill me, but his brother grew a conscience and let me go. And what? And then they're like, oh, yeah, you just need to drop this case, okay? You need to step back. It's for your own good. And the thing is because no one protected her, she feels this very much need to protect Bella and then Selene, because she has that no one protected her, so she's going to start protecting the role, kind of a drive. And and then it's like, well, what about you and this assassin guy? And she's like, what about us? We're just so there's that one of the traits of good sci-fi is that there are relatable things in the story world that you literally see around you all the time. And that was one of the things that the corruption on every level of everything, of completely different organizations, from the Freemasons to the Ehrman family, or the Mennonite Mafia, as I like to call them. They have the same kinds of control. They have the same, even though they're worlds apart, it's the same corruption. The highest level controls everyone below them. And if you don't fall in line, you end up with Roy, who I always think of as Enoch. I picture him as like the big strapping, my name is Enoch, and he's the one that like pushes the barn wall up by himself. He wants out and he gets killed. And the more you find out about these cultures, the control at the top of these different types of cultures, the more you find out it's the same. It's the same.
It's just like different types
power,
of
corruption, control.
And
it's the same in the police department, and the same in the church, and and it's just like
it's just like different sides of the same coin in a sense. I
Yeah.
completely agree with that. And I could tell even from ML's comment, you're like, poor Roy. I was like thinking about our the ermines. I was like the ermines. And yeah, that was a really sad moment. And I think because we got a little development on Roy trying to save on saving Miggs about halfway through the story. I'm curious, did you guys feel for Roy's character by the end?
I mean, I would say that ML did.
Mm-hmm.
I did. He at near the end of the book, near the big climax of the book, he saves her again, and he's like, I need you to help me escape them.
Mm-hmm.
And then he gets killed, and it's just like, it's, he's just, he's one of those that was a true believer until he saw the truth behind everything.
I think that character shows that, like, I think it shows Adrian's way of saying, like, that there are bad apples in a bunch, but it doesn't make the entire bunch bad. So, like, the religion part isn't bad. It's what people do with that power. And, like, but there are still good apples there that deal with the blowback of when you go after the bad.
I'd completely agree with that. And I think there's definitely a lot of supporting characters where they get some really interesting moments to shine throughout the book. Like, I know we've touched on Archie. Obviously, Roy was a character. Harley and I know Robomom. Robomom also had some really, really great moments as well. Yeah, but I mean, Maggie, Courtney, were there any moments that resonated the most with either of you that really like stood out?
I'm still getting through the book. I think that there's a lot of moments that resonate with me, and then just personally, as someone who is fighting my own sobriety of many years, I'm 14 years sober.
That's a huge thing.
The amount of just drug use by people of authority was very shocking to me. The way police are like just smoking blunts at murder scenes is very shocking to me.
The use of marijuana in this world is very like normalized. It's very, very
right. And like, I should be used to that living in Washington. I'm not. I'm still very much it's a big thing where I come from, and like no, so like it took me out quite a few times within the story, the amount of drug use. And I know it's in the blurb, and it's nothing on you, Adrian, it's my own personal thing, but like I feel like how many times I got pulled out of it, I almost feel like I lost the timeline within the story. Because like I feel like your comment about like we lost that she was sober from
the
alcohol, and then like the sobriety, we lost that because we lost how many, like, one thing with like romance and stuff is like, well, if you don't shower after a battle and you don't write that they showered after the battle, you're gonna lose readers because you're nasty and you're not gonna smush your uglies together nasty, right? Like, you'll lose readers that way. I saw that in a different genre, and I was like, whoa, like, when is she sleeping? She's getting high all the time on all this marijuana. Like, when are we?
I mean, I think I remember a moment where I think Adrian does touch on it once. I think it is touched upon. So I think this is actually a really interesting conversation. So this is the world of how drugs are touched on in this world. Now, I think with
when Adrian was first doing this, when he was first writing this years ago, okay, Adrian, I'm going to out you. We were talking about whether or not they were going to have like because the vaping was just becoming a trend. It was
And
like
that vaping thing was actually a really
the
good
vaping thing
book.
was starting to come into
Vaping,
this thing, and it was like he said that he wanted cannabis to replace tobacco in this. Now he does have places where he has tobacco cannabis overlapping, but these plants they require a lot of water, they require a lot of light. So it makes sense that the agri community would be the ones growing and stuff like this. And so but it instead of like having a cigarette to calm yourself, you would have a blunt. And that was something that Adrian talked about when he was developing the whole story world. It was more of a normalized thing. You will see that through this the one thing that like resonated with me was, besides the whole, because I'm an anthropologist, I have a degree in anthropology and world religions, and because of the whole anthropology thing, the stratification of the society and the way certain groups are maintaining their culture, that really resonated with me. The other thing that really resonated with me was that the kinds of corruption that are in this far future world, where after Earth is destroyed, we went to the stars, we found a place to settle, but our corruption went with us.
Yeah. You think it would have been better, but no, we're still just as corrupt. Those Freemasons.
Man. Oh yeah, the Freemasons.
What's that? Bigsby? You think like Bigsby is going to be like great, and no, he's just really corrupt.
Yeah. He's the one that seems most bored with the corrupt. He's like all of the.
You don't kind of like that.
He's like
on that line where
everybody's running around naked chasing these underaged and almost underaged girls, and he's like in his office full of file cabinets working, and it's like, okay, then, we know who likes power versus who likes privilege. And so, yeah, but like when they go through the tunnels, when they go to, what's his name, to meet to get the doctor. I can never remember the Overwatch character's name. Adrian, help me.
When
they go to
get the doctor to save Lear, right?
Yeah, they go to get the doctor to save Lear, and Harley goes with Faye, and
that's the Harley. That's the side Harley Faye adventure.
Yeah, and it's like their side quest is to go through basically the bowels of Spark.
Yep.
And
yeah, and that was interesting, because I was asking myself, I'm like, how come we randomly have a Harley? I keep thinking of her, Harley Quinn now. How come we have a randomly Harley POV chapter? I'm like, well, that means she's probably going to die, because they want us. Adrian wants me to care about this character now, halfway through the book.
Yeah, she really was the rebellious little sister, and she's like, I don't want.
I love her. I thought she was badass, especially in the beginning when you have when Lear goes to confront the boss. Like, that's actually a really cool scene. And then you go down and Harley's like dealt with everybody.
Hello, lovely Richard. We're talking about Mythic Shadow of the Spark.
Hey, welcome, Richard. Yes. So we're having a great conversation. For anyone just hopping into the stream, April was our science fiction month, and we read through Mythic Shadow of the Spark. So we're having an excellent conversation about the different elements of the book that we liked, and things that we liked, and things that really stood out. So
here's a question for you both. Okay, so because I'm the sci-fi writer, sci-fan writer in the room, one of the things that as science fiction and science fantasy writers we do is besides creating our own cultures and religions, we create our own like our curses and our prayers. And I know that there were some people that in the beginning that were like, that were like, oh, we're on Adrian about, you're promoting this goddess worshiping religion. Well, because through the book, you will hear different people saying different prayers to Gaia. You will hear, they'll say, things about, the cursed void and stuff like that. What do you think about, because you write fantasy, and Courtney writes romance. What do you think about this idea of something that has become its own religion, something that has their own profanity, their own prayers? How did you experience that as a reader?
I wouldn't say it's very far off from what I do read. I read a lot of like romantic-y books as well, within the romance genre that I typically read. And so like it's not uncommon to have religions made. Um, so I wouldn't say it was like a very far off thing for me, or out of like the norm. Like you were stating that like sci-fi is very big about like staying with like what could be around reality. I'm a very like realistic person, so if a book doesn't feel realistic to me, I'm out like 100%. So like there's a lot of romance that I read that it's very realistic, and not just from the sense of like contemporary romance that's like in the world that we live in now, but like I read fantasy that has realistic like elements to it. Like if you can't explain to me how it can realistically fit, then I'm out. So like there a lot of genres do that, and I think that that's actually a moment that unites us all as writers, is our ability to make something feel like this could happen today. Like this happens, I see this around everywhere. And I think that's what Adrian did really well in this book.
Mm-hmm.
And parts that you spoke very highly of is because like I totally see that. And like and that's and I'm not saying with like the drug use, and like I understand that some people can use blunts as like a cigarette and like just stress relief, and I get that. I feel like the part that was missing was explaining how it differs from marijuana that we use today, because you're not touching on the side effects of marijuana and how it affects different people different ways.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I mean, just specifically to that conversation, I think we understand that Miggs is like all about it, and we see it with the other characters. We see it with Faye, and we see how characters respond. We see how characters respond to what was that? The cocaine of the world. What was it called? Speed cone.
Speedo.
Speedo.
Yeah.
We see how that's used by characters, and I mean, those characters we had that Speedo fight and pretty early on. We know that they get taken away because of their actions. I think something that could be made clear is like, what is the stance of the police department as it pertains to drugs of the world? And I think that's something that I wasn't clear on, because since Miggs is smoking so much, I'm like, okay, the police is cool with it. Police is cool with drugs, but then they have a scene where they're going to go arrest the Speedo characters. Maybe that's just a public disturbance thing. Maybe it's because it's public disturbance. Or maybe because Speedo is more.
Well, it's like the difference in legalization. Alcohol is okay, but cocaine is not. Opiates are not. Marijuana is okay, but methamphetamines are not. So, and there's differentiation. There's a differentiation in Mig's character because that I saw, where she considers her alcohol addiction to be separate from her cannabis use.
Yeah, and that's totally.
So it's what do you consider sobriety? And that's how broken she is that she's almost never sober. And that leans in toward how broken she has been since she was 6 years old. So, but there's also the tech addictions. Like,
I absolutely love. I love how tech is. I love how they respond with tech in this world. I think the tech conversation is actually done very, very well. Especially when we have the technology that the police uses, and then it's contrasted against the grid, the way the grid works. I mean, we get this really cool scene where they basically become Dungeons and Dragons fantasy creatures, essentially, to go in and spy on Serena. We get that moment later on. And I think the grid is very clear that it's like social media, but it's virtual reality. It's virtual reality, social media, and you pay and you go in, and it's this whole virtual world to an extent. And I think that's a great conversation. I think that's a really great conversation. What type of character is like Serena, where she basically live streams her entire life, everything, like private, non-private, and that's such a part of that world. As this is like a cam girl, but it kind of feels like it's normalized.
She makes a lot of money basically running her 24/7 OnlyFans virtual reality where she's got literally a floating drone camera that just is always around her, and like even on a date, and this is where you begin to see the arrogance of the serial killer. You begin to see Patty's arrogance because he approaches her and not worried about having his face under his false identity splashed all over their version of the internet for everyone to see. You know, he's just this ancient, he's an ancient cultures professor. And he comes off as very charming and everything, and you pick right away that this guy's not what he seems. And so it's very, very interesting. What did you guys think about the fact that the literal shadow,
yes,
that was brought back from the planet itself?
I absolutely love that plot point. It's like, I know we haven't talked about our antagonist or the climax, the ending of the book, which is so important. And by the way, this is a great conversation. If you're just hopping into the stream or you're watching this on the replay, we would love to hear, how did you feel about our antagonist, the evil character, the shadow magic of the world, which is really blown up during the climax? Did you love it? Did you like him? Did you hate him? How did you feel about the shadow magic? Drop a comment. So I thought our antagonist was done very, very interestingly. And in the beginning, it's almost set up kind of like this murder mystery. But then as it evolves, we're like, okay, so it's this like weird shadow magic. And we have these really cool moments, right? Where Megs tries to confront him. And then it's like, I remember the moment where she tries to confront him at the museum. And then she confronts him, and it's like a snap, and she's back outside like nothing happened.
Or when Lear pulls him out of the car, and they have a little stabby fight.
Yeah.
And
there's some great moment, or when they're in the sensory deprivation tank with Lear and Faye. I think there's a lot of excellent plot building and antagonist development for our shadow character.
Yeah,
there's a lot of fun, and there's a lot of intrigue, right? Of like, okay, so this bad guy is something to do with Gaia. And Adrian, as a side note, Gaia, I wanted a line early on that told me that people are not allowed to go on Gaia. I could have missed it, but I wanted something, an early on reference in the first chapter that said people are not allowed to go on Gaia. Because then when I was introduced of like it was forbidden, I'm like, oh wait, it's forbidden to go on Gaia. And then I got the point, but that's side note. But the shadow was creepy AF for all the right reasons.
I'm waiting for a prequel about the Knights, about when the Knights went to Gaia.
That would be a great.
I'm waiting for that novella. I'm waiting for that novella of when that when they went to Gaia. Yeah, I'm waiting for that one. What is it?
Hey, what's up, Emma? I saw you hop into the stream.
ML, he was creepy, and the thing is, you know, it's like is Bixby really pulling his strings, or is he just, you know? And then you start finding out that there is a lot more going on here than just the political corruption, and these political murders. You've got this serial killer, and it's like, you know, how is he getting? He's not just the breadcrumbs that they put together tracking the serial killer, and they're like, okay, he's got all of these victims, and these are religious victims, and these are non-religious victims, but they're like, how is he just disappearing people? How is he killing people inside of locked rooms? That's it, you know.
The 30 wanted posters in the clearing in like that forest area was actually super cool. I'm like, someone's going there just to go sit down and look at all of his.
Yeah, the missing he visits his missing. That's his trophy yard. His trophy yard at the murder house. Yeah. So
my whole thing was, what changed from Earth to where the spark that they got rid of serial killers. Like, how did that become a thing? Like, I was very curious on that. Like,
I actually think that I think he touched on it very
briefly.
briefly. I think he did touch on the serial killer very briefly, and I think what happened, and Mom Maggie, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think after the transition, I think that there was a period of prosperity, which he mentioned there was about a 50-year period of prosperity.
The early settlement, when everything was uniting together, everybody was so busy working and everybody was getting along, and then things started to fall apart again. There started to be power obstructions and stuff like that. And because Miggs has studied for the detective exam, part of it is she has studied for serial killer, and she actually explains to Archie, and I call him Brody, but that's not his. Brosnan. Archie and Brody, what serial killers are. She's like, oh, like these are serial killers, and they're like, wait, what? They're like, wait, there are people out there that actually hunt and kill people, and she's like, yeah, and she's explaining that, like, the serial killers that have a ritual are much easier to catch than the serial killers that are just random. And that's why they were having so much trouble, is because part of his victims were random or appeared random because they were his contract killings. And then there were his ritual killings. And so, they were really straight, there's a lot of police procedural stuff going in this. There's part of it that kind of reminds me of The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, because they're dealing with this super genius killer, and they're like, how the hell is he doing all of this? And where are all the bodies? Where are the bodies? Because you don't have someone who kills every month for 30 years without there being a pile of bodies somewhere.
I know, right? Oh man, so when we think about our standoff, the final showdown with our shadow magic and the characters coming together, how'd you feel about that ending? Did you guys like it? Like it? Hate it? Hoping for more? Looking forward to book 2? What'd you guys think of that ending? Based on Mom Maggie, what you were sharing, that ending was very, very epic. What were your thoughts on it?
I loved the ending. I loved how when they were big, huge spoiler. I love Lear's ability to fight. I am like I think page 79 is one of my favorite scenes where he's facing off with the big boss gangster guy. Before, like, the day before he goes and starts his Secret Service job, he's got one more criminal job to do, and then he's going to go work and be an upstanding citizen. I love that they took Lear mostly out of it. I that was the thing when Patty used his shadow ability, his shadow portal ability to separate them all. I love that. There's a little respite in the scene. There's a little relaxed point in the scene where Miggs is facing off against Patty. Lear is trying to save his sister in the basement, and Faye walks into a library, and the souls of the first 2 victims are in this library. Mitch and Bella's souls are in there waiting for her, with her grandmother's soul and her father, who is in prison. His soul is there too. And so it's this lull that happens in the middle of this really tense, multiple stressor finale. But things that are said in that scene really, really, like, alter your perception. And because Faye is able to get the information, and then through her magic, through the power she gets from Gaia, able to send that information to Miggs to be able to stop Patty from escaping them again. So that then the 3 of them can confront him, and Faye can kill him. That was just that little respite of the scene. Everybody's like, oh, it's annoying, it's trying to slow down the book. No, it doesn't. We need this moment of clarity for Faye to step into, that I'm not just a witch, I'm something more. And
I do think that Faye's power was handled very well throughout the book. We start off with the auras in the very beginning. It transitions to her going to go upgrade her magic essentially with the what's that the journey.
she goes to the core.
Yep, when she goes to the core with Lear, at least for the first part of it, and then her having to use the ability at the end when they're facing off against the bad guy. I thought that was actually very well done. So I thought that was very, very well done. Yeah, so I mean, it was overall, I feel like it was a really, really fun experience. And I feel like even with our three main characters, I love that we got some of those like relationship and romance building with the three of them. I thought that was actually a lot of fun. And then it resolves and we get that at the end.
I love the ending resolves the way they become a poly. I love that. Adrian asked, "What do we think of the epilogue?"
RoboMom. I like RoboMom, by the way. RoboMom was cool. I think he did handle it in a way that was well done, because we didn't know she was RoboMom until he mentions why Harley is upset. I'm like, oh, okay, she's an android, or she's whatever they're called in this world. And they've made such a point of mentioning that the androids are like no longer really a part of this. They're kind of like their own thing. And I think that's actually cool. So then when we get it touched upon in the very end of like, okay, Harley, like, I'm sad about what happened to her. That was a very sad moment. Oh, we get something funny, but it's ironic, right? Because Harley hated RoboMom, and she had to like be forced to come to accept her. But then of course that irony of like, okay, well, sucks to suck. Now you're going to be Robo sister. Good luck. And that's like such a great setup for some fun character development in book 2, I imagine.
Yeah, that's another thing, is what happened to the androids. It's
I want to know that.
There's a bias. There's a bias against them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that now that they have enough people to do the work, they don't need them anymore. But you know, you shut her down. No, I'm not going to shut her down. You know, you shut her down. And it's like, yeah, it's the fact that the statement that is that Mrs. V makes to Harley in the last, that I'm your mother.
Mm-hmm.
You came from me. I gave you life, and when I died, you gave me life, and when you died, I gave life back to you again.
Mm-hmm.
That mother's love moment
at
the very end of the epilogue, it seems like this moment that is actually reflected in a couple of places through the book of Gaia, the planet, wanting to be that mother, to be able to give that love, and the children are corrupting it. And you see this thing over and over again about there's a huge commentary on what humans do with religion that I think Adrian handles very, very well through this whole book. And the thing you get at the very end is the love of the family, the love between people. That is the important thing. And yeah, RoboMom's not technically people anymore, but she has all their mother's memories.
She does. But I think that theme is explored interestingly. I think with Lear and Harley, is she actually the mom, or is she just a reflection, a robo? And it feels like that's actually going to be a strong theme of the series.
But the thing about, you have to rely on people, and people will let you down, but you can't hold that against all people just because some people let you down. It's like the Fast and the Furious thing about family. It's found family versus born family, and family is what is most important. That is layered in this book in several places. And I just, I told you this is my third time reading this.
Aww.
I love the book. I love the world building. I remember talking about, now I have memory damage from a stroke. This month is actually the 10th anniversary of my stroke. I've lived 8 years longer than I was supposed to live. And I remember talking in chats with Adrian about this book. We were talking about different levels of world building and different kind of things. And was he going to he chose to go with a soft magic system instead of a hard magic system, which is more of a magic of willpower. versus, I will make these symbols and I will chant these chants, and this is how magic happens. So, yeah, it's.
I think that was well done. I actually agree. I think a soft magic system was right for this first book, because I think if it was hard magic, it might have pulled focus from Miggs and Lear's journey for people who were then got too focused on the magic. So the magic's not supposed to be a huge thing. It's supposed to be a subplot for Faye about her personal journey. So I think soft magic was a great call.
And for sci-fi, he went for the harder system for the sci-fi, because the technology is finite, the technology has limits. The Ermines, the Mennonite Mafia people, they use like a micro EMP to like blow out Mig's technology so that they can kidnap her, and things like that. So I think he did a really good job of balancing these two things, along with balancing these personal arcs with these cultural arcs, with these political arcs, going through his story. It's definitely a space opera. And I, for being in my genre, I loved it. So, but I'm biased. Hi, my name is Maggie, and I'm biased because I love it.
Apparently, you're the Dream fan,
So I have to know, for those of you who were able to finish the book with us, what are you looking forward to the most for book 2? What's like the thing, like what's the question that's burning on your mind where like, I have to know this thing because now I want to know what's going to be explored next? Maggie, is it the Knights for you? Is it like, hey, I want to know a little bit more of the backstory?
I want to know. I love the histories of world building. So yeah, the Knights are the thing for me. The Knights and the first settlement years. Though that's the thing that I want to know. And if it starts off with the destruction of Earth by the comet, I am all for that. So I'm the person that kills planets in my series. So yeah, kill that planet. Millions are dead.
I feel like I want to know the most, is their new poly dynamic going to survive being fugitives? That is what I would like to know. Now that literally all 3 of them are in a much different place than when they started the book, but they're together at least.
Vigilante 1 and 2 and their girlfriend. That's pretty much where they're at right now.
Oh man, I absolutely love that. We would love to hear from you. Drop a comment. What are you looking forward to the most for book 2? So
read Bella's story. It gives you very interesting insights into the Ermines and that whole coming outside reflection side of what is going on. All shall be revealed. Yeah, Adrian, promises.
Wow. Yeah, I feel like there was there's so much to explore. Now before we move on and before we kind of wrap up our conversation, and I think what's interesting is there's so many points that we could talk about and we could continue on. Like there's other plot points I'm like I didn't even get a chance to talk about. When we pull back from the book in general, what are some kind of like final thoughts that you guys have? Things you feel like we weren't able to kind of dive into, because like it's what 550 pages, like it's a very sizable novel with a very sizable world, and there's so many points and some elements we didn't even have weren't even able to fully explore.
I want to see Bixby and the Freemasons get theirs, but but that's just I want to see them get theirs. Being humiliated on TV, getting dragged out of a brothel with underage girls is not enough humiliation for them. But we all know that like politically powerful, wealthy people skirt around the line of justice, and as a subplot is kind of like the secondary plot to what was really going on and what Patty really was. Armando, just the way he creeped out of that one cabinet and grabbed that girl. That was just yeah. My thing is are there more? Are
Ooh,
there more?
there probably
What has
are. I
happened?
mean,
What happened to
hmm
the previous Gaians?
hmm
And are there more? Are there more light bringers? Are there more shadows?
I wonder if it's gonna go like a whole like alien type of like storyline where where there was a society on Gaia and they were probably wiped out or they wiped each other out through some type of conflict or strife. So this type of shadow energy magic is kind of what's left of a society that's basically collapsed. Or unless they're still there and they just don't know. Unless like there could still be societies there and we just don't know about it.
There's a Final Fantasy where what is it, the planetary fragment hits Earth and all of the ghosts that are left on this planet fragment become the thing that is haunting Earth, and if their energy goes through you, you basically die. And that ghost society, the fact that they can like actually shift and assume a living form is brings the question of how many more are there, and who are they hiding as? What are they hiding as?
Man. Ah, so much to be able to talk through. So I'm so excited, and I just want to have a really huge moment. I want to take a moment and Adrian, thank you for letting us explore the world of Mythic with you this month. It's it's always a nice thing when we're able to put our books out there and we're able to have a discussion. It's like we want other people to explore it, but knowing that people will be exploring it, people might like it, they may not like it. I think there takes a lot of vulnerability and courage. So thank you. And for those of you guys who don't know, Adrian's one of our fellow co-hosts. He'll be joining us. He'll be rejoining us again next month as we hop into our romance book month for May. So everyone, like, thank you so much for joining us in the discussion. Now, before we move on, and once again, if you want to vote for our Romance May book, vote right now. We're going to be showing the winner soon, so vote now. Go vote. We dropped it in. We want to see which book we're going to be reading. But before that, an important thing we need to touch upon is reviews. Why are leaving reviews for authors important? Why are they important? We're going to touch upon this every single book club because this is so important, right? For us to be able to support our fellow authors. I know, Mom Maggie, I know you have you said you've published a number of books under your catalog. Has
Yeah.
How important have reviews been for you in your journey?
I getting reviews. The thing with reviews is it helps you in the algorithm.
Mm-hmm.
And it bumps you up. Most of my reviews are on Goodreads for my books.
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of ratings that goes through. I have over 35 books published.
Mm-hmm.
I'm part of a half a dozen different anthologies. And getting book reviews, getting word of mouth, it doesn't cost anything to share with your friend. Pops up my book is going on sale. I have a new book release out. It costs you nothing to share that on your social media to help spread them out, because right now word of mouth is the most important things. There are different author tubers. SD Huston, who is the founder of the
Mm-hmm.
Author Writing Conference,
Yep.
she actually a couple years ago when she was putting out her Clash of the Goddesses trilogy, when she started putting it out, she did a series on how much publishing really cost.
Mm-hmm.
And she put a lot of money into all of these different advertising platforms, and honestly, it's the word of mouth is seems to be the thing now that is helping most authors.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you can say, yeah, I read this book, I liked this book, you might like this book too. That helps authors as much as having a catchy cover, having a catchy tag phrase.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, please leave a rating, leave a review, share the news about
Mm-hmm.
other people's books, because in the indie author world, we're the only ones who are going to help each other, because the trad pub houses, they have their own agenda, they have their own gatekeeping, and we are not the people they want writing books and stuff, because we don't fit their model dynamic. So yes, please support your fellow indie authors in every way you can, and because you can do it and it costs you nothing. It costs you nothing more than 5 or 10 seconds of your time to hit click, copy, share.
Completely agree with that.
While I might not have finished the book yet, I have recommended this book to about 5 of my friends who this is their genre of, and they are currently reading it. So I'm doing my part.
I love that. I absolutely love that. Yeah. So, okay. So that's really great. And I mean, I think we can all agree that reviews are so important. And not just the reviews, but resonating what both of you said is that being able to word of mouth and help it grow, right? Because I was like, we're all in this together. We're all working on our own books. And when we get to publishing the book or publishing the books, right, we're going to need help in spreading it out to a greater community of readers who are interested in that genre of book, right? And the more we help others, the more others are willing to help us in return. So I see it as a very cyclical experience. So very cool.
Maybe Adrian might have some friends who like contemporary romance that deal with tough issues. And I want to, recommend Fallen for a Storm when I finally publish.
I'm already talking to people about The Last Scarecrow.
Oh,
it's like ooh.
I'm teasing that book out there too.
Yeah. So word of mouth is a very big deal. I remember when Adrian first published, we were all so excited for him. Richard's got a couple books out there. Emma's books. I've read all of Emma's books. So she's up for the romance book this thing, and I love her. We support each other. So please help your fellow indie authors. If you're readers, indie authors, we can use your help. Please help us. The algorithms.
I posted for next month's asking on Threads, and now my TBR list is 4 miles long as opposed to the 2 miles it was before.
I've had to order a new Kindle because I don't know if you can see all of the cracks.
You've definitely, it's like been through
my Dane Weiler put his paw in the middle of my Kindle.
I just have a tablet.
Yeah, so it's goodbye, my friend. But I have over 400 books on my TBR. So except for the book club, I'm not allowed to get any new books until I get my TBR below 200.
Right.
So so I am breaking one of my New Year's resolutions for the ReadNow Book Club by getting books for the ReadNow Book Club, because I wasn't supposed to get any new books until my TBR was below 200.
And I think that's always the challenge, right? Of how do we, the more books that we want to read, the more that get added to the TBR. I feel like I have so many books on my TBR, but I never have time to read. So like this is something I struggle with, which is why I appreciate things like the book club, where we're able to I know that's something that we can do and we can read and talk about together. So completely agreed with that. And I think we're definitely all agreed on supporting each other and helping boost each other up. But on that note, I think we are ready. To announce the winner for our romance book month. All right. So I'm just queuing it up here on my end. Let's see. Give me just a second. So we've gone, first off, everyone, thank you for voting. Thank you for dropping a vote. Thank you for helping us vote for what our romance book of the month is going to be. And bear with me while I get this set up. All right. So I think this is all good here. Okay. So for everyone who doesn't know, our romance book of the month, our May is romance book month. Everyone submitted. We got the 5 books you all submitted, and everyone has cast their votes. Everyone has cast their votes. So without further ado, and guys, let me tell you, this was really close. It was really, really close. So without further ado, let's see which one was the winner. Emma Bennett, Her Perfect Hero. Emma Bennett, Her Perfect Hero. So, Emma, your book was selected to be our ReadNow Book Club pick for the month of May.
My cat, the cat is my favorite character in this book. I love the cat so much.
Didn't Emma say it? Wait, what was the cat's name again?
Mr. Percy.
Mr. Percy. I was like, what a great name for a cat. And we have a lot of cat lovers in the community too. So I'm actually, it sounds like this is going to be a fun little read. Once again, for me, I'm not like, this type of romance is so outside of my own genre that I would personally go through. So I feel like I'm going to get to explore. I'm such a proponent of read outside of your genre to an extent so you can learn from other styles. And very, very much. So, Emma, congratulations. We will reach out to you and we'll connect with you on details and what that looks like for the month of May. But congratulations, Emma. Your book, Her Perfect Hero, is going to be our official book for May. Super exciting. Very, very fun. And yeah, I'm so thrilled that we're going to be able to explore a different genre. We kicked off March with paranormal fantasy, where we explored M.L. Claxton's book, Dead Caster. We've just explored science fiction month with Adrian Santiago's book, Mythic Shadow the Spark. And now we're going to be mixing it up with romance next month with Emma Bennett's book, Her Perfect Hero. And guys, just you wait, because June will be right around the corner before you know it, and we will be getting into whatever that genre is for the month of June. So everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been an excellent conversation. I have loved seeing everyone's input, loved seeing what everyone's thoughts is for Adrian's book. Adrian, thank you again for letting us experience your book. For those of you guys who missed Adrian, he'll join us next month. Adrian will all be going through a romance journey next month, so we'll be seeing what is up. And once again, for anyone who missed out on Adrian's book, it's still available for free to download on Amazon. So everything's linked down in the YouTube description. Very, very cool. We will be connecting with Emma, and we'll let you guys know the details, because May 1st is literally right around the corner. May 1st is next Thursday. So that's when we will be launching. We will be starting on the book.
4 days.
That is literally 4 days away. Oof, man.
2025 needs to slow down. You need to slow down. You need to slow
I'm
down.
like, we're already over a third of the way through 2025. I was like, oh my goodness. But with summer, with the start of summer, that brings Faded Fantasy Fiction Contest and many, many other fun things to come. So everyone, thank you all for joining us today. It's been a great, great conversation. Courtney, thank you for being a wonderful co-host with me. Maggie, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. Your voice in the conversation has been amazing.
This is the genre I love. This is I mean, I remember I told you before stream, the one thing that I regret is that I never got to meet Anne McCaffrey. I missed meeting her, and you know, she was like the mother of modern women's science fiction, and everybody's like, oh no, Pern is dragons and stuff. No, but she says it's not fantasy. There's no magic in Pern. The dragons were genetically engineered from fire lizards. There's no magic. It's all technology. And so, yeah, I have, since I read my first science fiction book, literally my first science fiction book, when I was like 5 years old. And about a little girl from Venus who ends up spending the day on Earth. And then from the time I was 6, 7 years old, I've been reading science fiction, and that bled into fantasy later. But yeah, it's, I know that romance is the biggest genre, and it always will be, but I love me some sci-fi, some sci-fan, and some fantasy.
Oof. Well, we'll see if romance continues to hold predominance in the years to come. My guess is some subgenres are probably going to take over as number one as we continue to see evolutions. But thank you all for joining. It's been great. You guys are awesome. And as we're wrapping it up here with the community, this brings us to the end of the stream. But don't forget, I'll be back tomorrow with another daily writing sprint. Oh, no, wait, tomorrow's the podcast. Tomorrow, come back. I'll be chatting with author Katie Silverwings, and we'll be chatting about an interesting editing method, bonsai pruning editing. How can you improve the editing process for your book with this unique strategy? So we'll be back 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern to chat about this concept. Unfortunately, this brings us to the end of the stream. Don't forget, words are wind, but stories are forever. I'm Kaufman, and I'll catch you on the morrow. Thanks for joining us, my friends.
Hey everyone, Adrian Santiago here, founder of Books by Adrian, author of the MYTHIC series, and I'm here to encourage you to read now. Right now. Well, right now, not right now, but right now. Read now, right now.